The newest edition of the MCU on TV, The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, is hitting soon, and I've got my thoughts on episode 1 right now. Hello everybody, I'm Dan Murrell, and I'm here with my thoughts on the first episode of The Falcon and the Winter Soldier. This has been a busy week here on the channel. We had a huge release already this week with Zack Snyder's Justice League. If you want to see my thoughts on that movie, you can click the little card up there. I really enjoyed it. Is this going to be a 2-for-2 kind of week with The Falcon and the Winter Soldier? Well, kind of. This is a very different show from WandaVision, and I'm kind of learning my lesson with the way that I viewed that show and the way that I'm viewing this show and my expectations from these different Marvel shows. And the lesson that I've learned is to not necessarily take what I see in the first 1 or 2 or 3 episodes and apply it to the rest of the show. There may be things coming down the line that put the early episodes in a new light. So I'm not going to judge the whole series by what I've seen from this first episode. I will say that the opening of The Falcon and the Winter Soldier has some great action. We see the Falcon battling a criminal group. There are some names and faces, not just in this opening, but throughout the show that make an appearance, names and faces that you might know. I won't spoil any of that here, nor will I really spoil anything here. This is a non-spoiler review, but I thought that the action was really well shot. It was theater quality production value, and it was great to see Falcon on his own. He's always in an ensemble setting. The most we've really been able to see what he can do is that showdown in Ant-Man when Ant-Man tries to break into the Avengers facility. But here we get him zooming through canyons and chasing bad guys with parachutes and wingsuits. We see Red Wing flying around and how Falcon and Red Wing work together to fight crime. It was a really great look at just how awesome the Falcon is at his job. From there, the show slows down quite a bit, and this episode is really mostly about character development. Sam is still struggling with the mantle of Captain America that was given to him by Steve Rogers at the end of Avengers Endgame. He makes some decisions about his future and Captain America's future that seem like they're going to have some major consequences. We also have Bucky, who continues to struggle with his years as a programmed assassin. He's haunted by nightmares. He's seeing a therapist, but he's still not able to move on from the horrors of his past. There is a kind of third unspoken lead character, at least in this episode, and that is Steve Rogers, Captain America himself. He's not only gone from the world at large, but he's also gone from the worlds of Sam and Bucky, and you realize just how important he was to both of them. He was a foundational character, he was a rock, he was someone they could turn to for support, and now they live in an almost alien world where this support system of Captain America isn't there anymore, and I like this theme. I hope that they continue to explore it throughout the rest of the series, because it is interesting to see these two guys navigate the world without Captain America, who is essentially their leader. It's a lot more difficult to review this show even than it was with WandaVision, because WandaVision was so modular in the beginning. Episode 1 was its own thing, and episode 2 was its own thing, and it wasn't until you got later on down the road that they began blending into each other. The Falcon and the Winter Soldier is different. In a weird way, this would be like watching a movie and then having somebody stop the projector after 20 or 25 minutes, come out and say, okay, let's review this. What did you think of the movie so far? That's how I feel with this show, because it's not really self-contained much at all. We're establishing some things about the characters, there's a reveal, and then this episode is over. There's not one continuous arc that goes from the beginning of this episode to the end of this episode. It really does feel like just one piece of a larger story. Hey, that's episodic television. Some of them do have episode arcs that begin and end in one. Some of them are just chapters in a book. It looks like The Falcon and the Winter Soldier is going to be much more of the chapters in a book level show. The two characters do not meet in this episode, so we don't get anything with them together. We're developing them separately. Like I mentioned, in addition to dealing with the Captain America title, Sam is also dealing with family issues, financial issues. A lot of them are tied to the fact that he was gone for 5 years. And I like that these shows, both WandaVision and now The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, are dealing with the concept of half the population being gone, billions of people leaving, and then all coming back at the same time. It is a huge seismic event, but it's also something that I don't think the movies, the ones that are going out to theaters, are going to have a whole lot of time to deal with. So I think it's a really good idea for Marvel to deal with these ramifications on their television projects and have that knowledge bleed over into the movies without having to devote the much more limited screen time that you have in those MCU films. A lot of times the pilot of a television show is there to kind of give you a rough sketch of what the show is going to be, and a lot of times the pilot for a television show isn't one of the stronger episodes of the series. I don't necessarily think the second part applies to The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, but I do think that the show is very much about setup. You're setting up not only our two characters, but a couple of different organizations that I'm sure are going to recur. There's not really a sniff or a whiff of what the big bad is going to be or who the big bad is going to be. This really is just the first little tiny bit of the show with much, much more to come. Having said that, it's also not a show that grabbed my attention after this opening action sequence immediately. It is a slower paced show. As I mentioned, it's much more about character development, and it didn't really have me on the edge of my seat. I think that there is a lot of potential for great character growth throughout the show, but it's not quite as grabby as WandaVision was. Basically because the concept of WandaVision was a lot grabbier than the concept of this show. I think this is going to be a slow burn show. If we get to 4 or 5 episodes in and I feel the same, where I just don't really feel that engaged, or I feel like the show's kind of crawling along and not really keeping me interested, then it'll be a completely different story. It's not a happy story. These are not very happy characters. There is a reveal at the end of the episode that leads into the second episode, and I think it's going to inform a lot of what Sam does this season. It's probably also going to be what helps to bring Bucky back into the fold, but this is not a big splashy premiere episode. You get a great action sequence and then a lot of character scenes. So my overall feelings on this episode are interested. Definitely interested, but I'm going to wait and see what comes down the road. I think that maybe The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, if the other episodes are paced like this one, may be more even than WandaVision, a show that benefits from watching it all at once as more of a continuous movie than segmented chunks week by week. And this is going to be an interesting challenge for us to watch as Marvel navigates. Are there going to be shows or movies like this that are more like movies that are separated into 40-minute chunks versus the more episodic, again, because it was based on television, nature of WandaVision? So overall, I would say positive feelings about The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, but a little TBD on the rest of the show. I will be tuning in next week to see what happens. I'm not sure if it's going to warrant a week-by-week review, or if we might want to do something more like grouping 2 or 3 episodes together, or waiting till we get to the end of the season. I'm going to judge that as each episode comes down the road, so there will definitely be more Falcon and the Winter Soldier reviews here on the channel. What the frequency of those reviews is going to be, I don't know, but I'm hoping that this is going to be the kind of show that we all can't wait to talk about each and every week. We'll just have to wait and see. Are you excited for The Falcon and the Winter Soldier? Do you mind a slow burn TV show? Let me know down in the comments below. And as always, thank you so much for watching. If you want to see what I'm up to on Patreon, you can check me out at patreon.com/Dan Murrell. And like I mentioned, you can also check out my review for Zack Snyder's Justice League, which just went out last night. A lot of comic book based entertainment for all of us to watch at home this week. Thank you so much for watching me at home or wherever you are. Until next time, stay safe. And thanks for watching.